Nine House Democrats voting to hold Bill Clinton in contempt yesterday.
On committee. So just as
on
a
committee, I should say. Yes,
that,
correct.
yeah,
it's going to go to the
that
full house.
It'll
go to the full house eventually, but this was house oversight. I mean, you have to give these members credit for being consistent. Looks like Hakeem Jeffries was whipping against this. Obviously, the Clinton sort of machine was working against this, although it clearly is not what it was, Dan, when it comes to the influence with the party. Like, what's your take? Was this surprising to you? Like,
I thought there would be few. I did not think there would be that many on the committee that would have done. I thought there might have been like, a couple. But I think, look, the fact that Hakeem Jeffries so actively worked against this and was apparently calling people on the committee saying, don't do this, don't do this. We talk about Mike Johnson looking weak at times. We talk Hakeem Jeffries, that is not a good look for you, that you could not stop a committee vote of overwhelming numbers like that. And it does speak to the fact that the Clintons are not what they once were. And this younger generation just looks at them and thinks, so what?
Well, and that's kind of what I mean. I will say this. I give them credit. So to Rachel's question, yes. Yeah. But let's be clear. You don't feel any sense of reprisal when you're going against the Clintons now, right? And there is a difference. So I will give them credit. I'm full stop. But it's not like you're going up against Gavin Newsom or somebody that you think, gosh, they could be a cent. They could be in power again. And the Clintons are yesterday's news. So you're not really taking that tough of a vote. It is a tough party vote. I think Dan's right on Hakeem. It makes him look unbelievably weak. Yeah. But then the big question is going to be what happens now. Yeah. And we talked about this yesterday. I think the Clintons, after seeing this, are going to scramble. And Comer asked for it last night. He was like, look, if they want to come and do a deal. Again, my personal view is they didn't let they squeezed Bannon and said, screw it, you're going to jail. They tried it. Bannon's team tried to work out a deal at the end. They wouldn't let him do it. So my view is get that vote up. If you're Mike Johnson, there's no downside to this. Put it on there. I want to have this debate every day of the week about, parity here. So put it up, get the vote, and send it to DOJ.
I'm very curious.
And the Clintons cut a deal. I think before the end of the week, the Clintons cut it. I think Friday evening, I would be watching the news between like noon and 7 p.m. or, over the weekend in the middle of a snowstorm. The Clintons will cut a deal.
Yeah.
And they will testify.
But Dan, what the president will say about this if he's asked about it, because look, like, he's still not complying with the law.
I was just going to say.
And he doesn't like this to begin with. Does he show some sympathy for them and say, nah?
No, I think he's gonna say, look, I don't want Bill Clinton caught up in this, as you know. Yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. Two things that are fascinating to me about this. Number one, on the Clinton front, I do think it'll be interesting. Like Comer's got himself into a pickle now. Because this is where, if he cuts a deal with them, the MAGA world's going to go nuts and say, why did you let him off the hook? The fish was on the hook. The second thing that I think will be is interesting to me is there have been reports about how many man hours and personnel are being used to go through these documents, right? So for all of these people, and again, I'm all about getting justice. So just to be clear on this, but who have talked about resources of the government being used for whatever, all these Democrats that talked about the use of government for this and what we're doing, whether we're focused on the right things, have the entire Southern District of New York, from what I understand, literally going page by page because of the sensitivity of this matter. So you've now taken the Epstein matter and made it the entire focus of a good chunk of the DOJ.
Well, first off, that was a bipartisan thing and signed by the president. I would say this because I heard this from a Democrat last night. If the Democrats were to win the House, I have a feeling perhaps the president and the first lady may become subpoena targets in the Epstein matter.
They're going to go after Melania?
No, they just maybe will want to ask questions the way people want to ask Hillary.
So can we put it on tape right now? Do you believe that there is a difference between a sitting United States president and a former?
Absolutely.
Look, this is obviously the $1 million question, right? But I think they will enjoy the politics if Democrats have an overwhelming bipartisan support to subpoena to hold the Clintons in contempt. I think they would relish, or in 3 years.
Yeah. How long has the DOJ had its own internal rules that you can't prosecute a sitting president? I mean, like
forever.
I get it, but this just shows where, to Sean's point, what's good for the goose, I think maybe how some people are thinking about it.